Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Enriching Evenings. I am Melanie Canatella. I'm a certified professional bird and dog trainer. I'm a fear-free certified trainer, and I have a few degrees in applied behavior analysis and psychology. I'm the owner of Fluff and Feathers, and today we're bringing you Enriching Evenings. It is a weekly free class that I give that goes over different enrichment strategies for parrots. And it's a really great place to be able to get information for free and ideas, as well as dedicate time for you to do the foraging and setting up your birds for success for the week. We can share ideas, there's contests, there's really fun stuff going on. So without further ado, I do want to get into this week's topic, which is increasing complexities. You might see me look over here like this, and that's because instead of having my notes on this computer, I now have them on this computer. And we learned from last week because I also have a table now, so the desk isn't crazy and it's not as disorganized, but slightly chaotic still. So I want to start with talking about what increasing complexities is when it comes to foraging with our parrots. And it's really, really simple. It's just making it harder for the bird to obtain the food. So they have to work a little bit harder, and there's a lot of different ways that they can work harder. And we're going to go over quite a few examples to kind of get you started. I do know once when you're kind of in the foraging mindset and you have experience, this does come very naturally. I hear it from my clients. It definitely did with me when I was starting my foraging journey, oh, well over 10 years ago now. So I always want people to continue to build their birds' foraging skills and increase those complexities over time. So that way, each week, each session, each time you give foraging, however you're measuring this, you start to see improvements in their skill, in their confidence, in their problem solving abilities, and in their drive to continue to work with their food. So it's vital to continue to grow your bird's foraging skills. So that way, not only do they get the mental stimulation that they need, but it also keeps the amount of time a foraging activity takes to complete high. So when we give a foraging activity to a bird, obviously we're trying to account for time. We don't want the bird to have as much free time as they usually get in our care. So parrots usually spend anywhere from 8+ hours a day foraging in the wild for food, but in our care they spend anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes eating per day. So I know I want to extend that significantly. I want my birds' time accounted for, and I want them to be building skills like they would in the wild. I try to replicate it the best I can. You never will. This is an unnatural environment with unnatural care, but I really try my best to try to increase those species specific skills. So, to get started on some of these examples and the demonstrations, oh my God, I completely forgot. The rats are out. That's Jacob. Edward is the white one. I just saw like movement from the corner of my screen. I meant to say that in the beginning. My rats are out. Those are not pests of, these are welcomed pests, if you will. And I'm just trying to do two tasks at once tonight by allowing the rats to get out and get some exercise and do rat things, while also still being here and doing this. So not only will you see me looking like this, but you also will occasionally see me looking like this to make sure that I still have two rats on the bed. They're usually good, but I do want to get into those examples. Already starting out slightly chaotic, which is perfect. Absolutely exactly what we wanted. So last week we talked about really easy foraging stuff. So I brought in like the oval plastic gears and stuff like that, and different toy parts that I was talking about how to start with a bird foraging, keeping it simple. We're starting with individual toy parts, and I want to start on building the complexity from there. In case you're like, okay, like kind of following this in order. Again, I set it up this way so then it kind of flows a little bit between these 2 weeks to get that really nice foundation. And so you're like, okay, I understand from last week and I want to build upon it. So I have some stuff over here that again, it's not on my desk, but it's still not very organized. Oh, there they are. So I wanted to start on your shopping list. I included three different toys, the wheel deal, the bottoms up, and the tumbleweed trouble. And we're gonna start with that. Um, the deer are out in front of my window and the baby's there. But anyway, so if you see me now going like this, so cute. So actually, I'm so sorry. You can tell I'm a mom. I'm an animal lover. I need to take a picture. I'll put it in the follow-up email after this so you guys can see what I was looking at. But we started with those simple toy parts. So I want to show you how we can build those complexities. Not only starting with the toy parts in the like bowl or in a secondary like bucket or something like that. We talked about that last week of a starting point. Well, the next step would be having it hang. So this is the wheel deal that I make, but even if you just bought some of the blue paper rope that I have or used whatever cordage you like, and you just hung this oval plastic gear, if you're like so into that, that alone increases the complexity. And it increases the complexity because now it's in a new area and now it swings and you can stack them. So that could be increasing complexity. There's more there, there's more to interact with. And that way your bird can grow their skills slowly that way. But sometimes it's just better to just go ahead and get something a little bit more complex. So things about this is it's a little bit more complex because you have to deal with the wheels that are on here. Again, super easy to untwist this rope and take them off real quick and put them back on at a later time. But this is a really, really easy way to kind of get your bird started with increasing the complexity just slightly. I mean, you can still see this is pretty easy to get out, but it just makes it a little bit more challenging. And you can also, hang some millet through here, like we talked about last week, through the holes and stuff. So that way it kind of works with all size birds. But again, this holds a lot of different size pellets and it is really, really useful and handy. So this is an easy, easy way. It's small. So if your bird's a little afraid of toys, tiny. Even my macaw gets this because it's so easy for me to fill up and just throw anywhere in his cage. Another one, we talked about the acrylic cups. So again, can hold millet with the top. It's the same top as the other one and what I showed last week. But the clear acrylic cup allows your bird to be able to see the food inside of it, which can help increase their desire to want to work for it. But now we have a lid here, right? And if you ever wanted to email me or include in like your order notes or something that you have a beginner forager and you're here from Enriching Evenings, the complexity is based upon how long the rope is. So I do try to include a little bit extra, and what you can do is slightly untwist it and then just pull it up, and you'll see that knot tighten right there at the end. And now we have a lot of extra room. And instantly you saw that when this is taut, the lid is really on top of the acrylic container, and the bird really would have to push and really get in there. But if we have a lot more room, now the bird can pick this up if needed, and they have a nice hook bill that they can get their beak into the little holes and lift it up nice and easy. But also, as it naturally hangs in the cage, there's going to be a gap. And this helps communicate to the bird and show the bird like, yo, like, stick your head in there. There's stuff. That's how you get it. And over time, you can tighten it so that way your bird can use it to the complexity in which they are the most suited for at that time. And it's easy to retie these things, and it's easy to put these on a chain if you prefer, especially if you're using any type of fresh food or anything like that. You can also just buy the toy parts independently and make your own thing. So this is really nice because your bird sees it and then they can get it. And increasing the complexity with this one is putting, not only tightening the rope, but putting paper in there as well, like the treat on the bottom, paper on top. So not only do they have to mess with this little top, they also have to pull out the paper, then get their treat. The next one is Tumbleweed Trouble, which is just a vine ball with some crinkle paper in it. This one is like the all natural option if you prefer. And the cool thing about this one is you can build a complexity in a few different ways. You can first start by putting, like we talked about last week, nuts and seeds and stuff in between the woven parts. I think I brought in a vine cone, but don't quote me, uh, that showed it's still a woven vine material. And so you can just very easily put that right on the outside, and there, it's really easy for the bird to get. You can remove the crinkle paper, and usually you can see where I put it in. What I do is I find like the biggest hole, and I kind of pull it apart just slightly, and then shove it in, or you can take it out. It's easier if you have like some needle nose pliers or something to kind of like take it out if you need to. And then what I always do is once when I find my place, I try to push the woven parts back a little bit, so then it looks nicer. And your bird doesn't find it. My birds find it so quickly. So you can take out the paper and simply just put food items inside of it for your bird to find. Depending on the ball that you get, because it is a natural item, it varies in the holes that there are, like how big they are, and some are more woven than others. This one is a little bit less woven, and I chose it because when I sell things to people, I want it to be like top line, and if it doesn't look the best, I either use them for like the website or I give them to my own birds, and take it out of the business expense. So you can do that, but then if you have the paper to increase the complexity, you put the food in the paper. And sometimes you have to show your bird that. You have to be like, no, 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 here you go, for them to be able to find it. And you might have to build up with it more so with some birds or some species than others. Amazons, I found you have to go a little bit slower compared to like cockatoos or macaws, but they still get it, you know? They're just a little lazier, but they still get it. So I really like this one for birds to be able to build upon. It's small, it's crunchy, it's easily destroyed. There's a lot of satisfaction with it. So this one is a really good option to help build the complexity. Another really nice, easy one, which I should have included on your shopping list. I don't know why I didn't, because I went shopping, because I go shopping in my own house. I went shopping in the other room, and I remembered my bagel shop toy, and I was like, yo, this is fire. I really like this one because it's pretty dang simple, and you can modify it very easily. So I'm going to show you, and you could buy replacement parts so easily and replace it yourself. So the first thing are the interlocking snowflakes, which we did talk about. This really only works with like nuts rather than seeds. Even like safflower seeds doesn't really work. If you get them out of shell, like sunflower seeds, it works a lot better. But the bagels can hold millet. Depending on the size of your millet strand, it can also go in between here. Um, but I really like this one because not only do a lot of birds like bagels, they're just compacted cardboard, but what you can do is easily disattach these and make them smaller, or you start with just giving them this and hanging it on the side of their cage. You bought the toy, but you have just this, or you bought the parts. And you just start with this, and then we get a little special. And once when we're doing that, then we're gonna add some extra bits. And you can slowly build up the links so that you have the full toy. And that builds complexity in and of itself. Now, with this toy, building complexity from there, I don't know, right? So when you have a simple toy or simple activity, even some of like, once your bird figures out the lid, what else are we going to do? Paper, what else are we going to do, right? So some other ways to increase complexity that isn't buying new toys or different toy designs, especially if your bird is starting to be introduced into the enriching land, um, the enriching universe, or I'm trying to think of something with an E off the top of my head. We'll get there. What you can do is a few other simple things. What I have done is put toys in paper bags or wrap them up in paper, because that in and of itself is increasing the complexity. The bird has to now shred the paper to get to the toy, and they have to investigate the toy parts in order to get to the food, and then they have to consume the food. So now we're adding steps on top of it. Another thing that you can do is consider placement of the toys within the cage. So most people are very kind to their birds, and there's a perch and a toy. So the bird can sit on the perch and play with the toy. I challenge that because I hate doing that. I do it. And I do it for some birds more than others because of specific needs, but I don't like doing it. What I like to do is move them away from perches. So I will hang them on the side of the cage where there's no perch around. Just bear in mind, birds like to be up high. So if you put things down low, a lot of birds sure will go after it, but not all. So you might just be getting toys to be pooped on. I'd recommend trying something that's easily cleanable, like the universal forager we're going to be talking about in a minute. So I try to hang them away from perches. I'll also hang them like in the center of the cage by the ceiling, so they have to hang upside down in order to get it, because they must work. My Amazons love to do that, to hang upside down and get the enrichment out. My cockatoo's like, mm-mm. No. He's like, would rather die. My macaw loves doing it too. Noelle, my Myers, she likes to do it. Maui and Rosie, I think they share a brain cell between the two of them. And if you just look at them, you agree, they're smart, but like one brain cell. So like their foraging experience is a little bit more tame, where them just investigating things and starting a bit simple is kind of where they're at, and I'm okay with it. It keeps them busy still for the same amount of time as the complex ones for the other birds, so I don't really care. So we can hang toys in different areas of the cage, but also we can hang them on the outside of the cage. So great job, Melanie, to bring it. There are things called baffle cages. I think I had one last week, okay? I had one last week. Baffle cages are great because they're like mini cages for your cage, and you can put fresh food in there, toy parts, etc. Great for foraging. But what we can do is use the bird's current cage like a giant baffle cage. So you can hang them on the outside of the cage, and the complex part is now there's bars in their way, limiting the amount of movements and how they can interact with the item. And even better if they have to twist the item to get to different food items. So that's a good example. Yeah, I'll use this one. This one go for example, like with this one, flowers and bulbs. If the cage is over here, right? We could put food items on this side of the gears, and maybe like one on that side to kind of get them started if they need it. So now through the cage bars, they have to twist this around in order to get it. And I promise you they can. If you don't believe me, I'll get Alfie to show you. He's impressive. They definitely can, and it makes it last longer. So if you're having issues with, your bird only likes 3 toys and there's barely any foraging options, like this one is more simple, or the other simple ones I showed, then try moving it around the cage in different ways, or wrapping it up in a paper bag or some brown paper or some newspaper or something, so then they have to shred through it. All that I've done when I've wrapped toys is I've just gotten a big piece of paper. I buy big rolls. They're 3 foot long and like, or 3 foot high and like, I don't even know how long. From Uline, they're like the big craft paper rolls. I buy that, so I just get a size much bigger than the toy, and I just gather it up at the top. I'll zip tie it, and then throw it in. So have fun. And for Merlin specifically, like he loves paper. And when he was afraid of a new toy when I first got him, I wrapped it in paper and did that. And I swear to God, like he was like, "Oh yeah, best toy ever." He like didn't care. Like that's all it took. That's all it took. Is I wrapped it in paper, I threw it in his cage, I sat in there because as he was tearing up the paper, I was waiting for that "oh my God" moment, and then like I have to go get the toy out of there very quickly. But he was like, "No, best toy ever," and it lasted like a day and a half. He's like, "This is great, thanks." Um, so for Merlin to build his confidence with toys and foraging, I used a lot of paper because he liked paper. It was already a thing that he really liked and he was comfortable with. So I don't know, maybe keep that in mind or whatever. But I did bring up this toy, the Universal Forager. It's one of my newer ones, depending on when you're watching this or the replay. Um, but this is one of my newer ones. And if you had like the wheel deal and you had the bottoms up, you can then move to the Universal Forager because look what it all includes. Isn't this lovely? And it's on a reusable stainless steel skewer. You can use fresh foods with this. You can make other toys with this. You can do a lot with this. And this is just increasing the complexity because now we have some of these involved in between the same lids. What was I calling them? Whatever they were. But then here's the complex part, man. The amount that's on top makes it harder to get into this. And you can unscrew this skewer from both ends, which is pretty nice. And what you can do is take some of the weight off because the more weight that is on top of this, the harder it is to get open. And the different skills your bird has to use in order to do it. So depending on your bird's skill, I take some weight off of this, and you can easily put it back down here at the bottom. So there's still the full use of the toy, just arranged differently for your bird's needs as you're building that complexity. And I would just add segment by segment at a time for your bird to get used to. And I'd keep the highest value reinforcers in this cup. And again, they can see it, so it draws them over, and then they have a lot to work with. And the cool thing about this, compared to, say, the smaller counterparts, is this has a lot more swing to it. I'm trying to swing these the same thing. Look, it's going crazy over here. Wild. And that movement increases the complexity because now what does the bird have to do? The bird has to stabilize it. So they have to put their foot on it. And now they're doing this with one leg. Ah, the physical needs compared to any, and imagine if this was in the center of the cage from the ceiling and they had to hang upside down in order to get this, and this is what is constantly going on as they're pecking at it, and then then they have to bring a foot down maybe. Ooh, the physical requirements of that is a full body workout. That is like Peloton. I've never used Peloton, but I've heard of it. This is like bird Peloton. All right, I hope. Correct me if I'm wrong. But no, this is a really good workout, whatever workout methods that you use. This is Planet Fitness. And this is just a really nice way to build those skills. Especially again, if you got both of these, or these loose, this is toy parts, they got this, So it's just a good way to continue to build that complexity. Now, if you wanted to go the natural route, like I briefly showed, the flowers and bulbs, And this does come in a toy bundle, the Busy Bee toy bundle. So if you did get that from the shopping list, this is a part of it. This is why we talked about it. And this is really great because you have those gears that hopefully your bird knows and recognizes, but also the woven parts. And remember the complexity of being underneath? Ooh, baby. That I went, ooh, and Ramona started to bark. Because of course she did. Um, so this is a great way to increase those complexities if you prefer a more natural option or a different texture, right? So maybe they're used to these lids, but what about these lids? These lids are a different texture and different appearance, and they're bigger, they're wider. So now instead of the bird, I need more hands. Instead of the bird just like barely having to change their head orientation, barely having to avoid these things, these are big. These are 12 centimeters apart. And they're going to really impede your bird's ability. And depending on their size and their comfortability and where it is and so on and so forth, they might have to destroy this in order to get to this. That would be the best goal. But we can also maybe peep some seeds under here, especially if we use a black sunflower seed and we peep it under here so it's shown and the bird's like nibbling maybe at its pellets or something. And then it looks up and it goes, check that out. Right? So that could be a really nice way to kind of transition them to more complex topics. We're going from something more simple, the individual toy parts like we talked about, and now they're all together. Like that is a more complex assignment than we were originally given. Also a part of that toy bundle, this is the chunky stacker. And it might look different than on the website, depending on when you're watching this, because I ran out of the thick cardboard slats, but I had these thinner ones, so now it's two. It's the same size as the last one. It's just slightly more cost on my end, which is great. So need to update the website as of July 3rd of 25. But this is what it looks like. And it actually is kind of to our benefit if we're trying to increase complexities, right? So we have the woven material, so on and so forth. And you can see this whole back part is kind of empty. And that's for you to put something in that your bird can see. And then they have to chew through this in order to get to it. We have the paper like we talked about before. Maybe we take out the paper and start there, and then maybe we add in the paper, we add things into the paper. We talked a little bit about finger traps, getting seeds and nuts into the woven parts, and then also using this to our advantage. The depth of the finger trap can increase the complexity because the bird either has to tip it, maybe, or most likely they have to chew it in order to get to it. But the new part about this toy that we haven't spoken about yet is the cardboard. And I really like this corrugated cardboard. This is nothing fancy. You can find it on your own if your bird is a cardboard fiend like Merlin. And what happens is the corrugations have little slats right there on the outside. So I'm going to start by putting food right there on the outside, nice and easy for them to just quick snatch. And then I'm going to move to the top. Pardon you. Gonna move to the top. And in the top, and you cannot see it on my camera, I need a better one. But on the top, especially if you feel it, you feel the different channels, that make this up. It's kind of like a honeycomb pattern. And what you can do is either put a shallow hole in the top for your bird to still see the food item, be able to grab it very easily, or you're going to poke a hole and put it down into that chamber. So then your bird has to chew in order to get it. Further to increase the complexity is we can open the slats. And again, I always include extra at the end in order for you guys to make the modifications that you need for your bird and their complexity. So we can lift it up now and we can put things in it. And to start our bird off with that, I'd probably twist the cardboard to the side and poke those holes in and show them that. And then I'd introduce it all together. So then they're like, hold on a second, there was once food there. And they can slide it or chew it themselves. So this one is a really great way to build those complexities with those skills and a new toy item, part, texture, so on and so forth. Just great. We can continue to build it with that toy bundle. And this is the Flower Child toy. My birds love this toy. Not only at the top can it hold millet in here, and it has some just chewing. But the good thing, I mean, we've already talked about all this, but the thing that I wanted to mention specifically with this toy is going into different wood foraging stuff, right? So I love these these groovy pine blocks. I was mixing up pods and these the mahogany pods. I really like these, and my birds love these because it is more fragile wood. It's pine. And so your bird can easily start chipping and get used to interacting and eating, not eating, but destroying wood. But the wood slats hold a lot of stuff. They hold all nuts. Depending on your sunflower seed size, holds it. Safflower seeds holds it. So it holds a wide variety within it. But we could, if we needed to, make modifications to wood or buy our own untreated 2x4s, as long as it's like pine. Pine's very common. We can do our own wood stuff. So if we take, and I'm just using wood, you can use a variety of materials. And if we just take a drill bit or a drill press, if you're fancy, like I got a drill press, very cheap one, but a useful one. If we make a very big shallow hole here, that's going to be really easy for the bird to be able to get and consume the food items. But if we drill a deeper hole, and especially if the hole is smaller, like skinnier, the bird's really going to have to use the hook of their hook bill in order to scrape it out and consume small portions at a time, which increases the duration that they're interacting with this object and trying to search for food. It also will increase the desire to chew wood, which is great because that helps significantly with beak maintenance and grooming and just satisfactory behaviors from birds because they're designed to chew. So let's give them stuff to chew, right? So with the difference in the depth and the size of holes, it increases the complexities in and of itself. So these are very shallow. These are meant for kind of any bird to get started with. And again, we can hold millet, we can hide in here, we can hide in here. So we're like the other ones building on what we're including. And it's not just asking the bird to focus in one area. Now we're asking the bird to focus elsewhere as well and get more investigative with their foraging and interacting with toys in their day-to-day life. The last one that I want to talk about that is in a different toy bundle is Groovy Pods. And we've already talked about things, but I wanted to bring this toy into the conversation because of these pod cups. These are an all-natural toy item. And what I did is I stuffed them with crinkle paper and there's a thick piece of wood on top. So again, change the length. This one's going to be easier to get to than this one because of the amount of weight that's on top of it, but it's not a whole lot. It's bamboo finger traps, a little, wood block and a bead. So we don't have too much on top of it. But compared to, I feel like, hold on, let me be a bird real quick. I think that one's slightly heavier, but if you told me they were exactly the same, I'd still believe you. So scratch that idea. But the cool thing about this one is you can't see through it at all. So your bird, introduce it to your bird, put it in front of them, put the treat in there right in front of their face so they know like there is an opportunity of food into this, but maybe not every time, right? Because that increases the complexity of where's the food? Hide and seek, You just got to get when you're playing hide and seek, you got a really good hider, you're like going through all the spots in the home, you're like, where the heck is Susan? Where's Sue? Sue's hiding really well. And we want our treats to be Sue. Built up to it, of course. And so what we can do, we can take the paper out, we can add the paper, we can use different wood on the top. If this is just a little too much, maybe we do a little less. These do hold millet uh, stalks, things. What's the word? They hold millet, the whole strand, and it could bulk out and be a really good experience for your birds. So again, we can build upon like materials. You know, we have the finger chops and the groovy wood, just like we had on the other one. And you know, maybe this groovy wood kind of looks like the oval plastic gears, and we have the paper and stuff. And we can build on it that way. And that's part of my whole toy line and why I designed it the way I did. I mean, I make every single one of these. I designed every single one of these, and I did it because I was really tired of trying to give my clients suggestions. And this is also a part of this series is because my clients needed more and more and more, and I'm just sitting here like, we just have to create a place where we can all get together and go over these, and I can explain these more in depth and have that platform to do so. And also on demand anytime y'all want to through watching the replays on YouTube or my website. Um, so it's really, really helpful in that aspect. But we can use the toy parts to build complexity. And then the ultimate complex um, things that toys that I have that are already kind of pre-made are my rough and toughs. This is my tiny but mighty. The rough and tough is next. The rough and tough is going out, and this one is probably not far behind it. So, FYI, you're interested. This is, I mean, you can see, this is great. I built this toy because of Noelle. Noelle is impressive, just like Alfie, and she needed a lot. So I gave her a lot. And this is one of my best sellers, and it's for a good reason. There's a lot going on here, right? So we went through those toys, and your bird is like really getting the pattern and really getting those skills. So then we introduced one of these clusters, and we have the palm daisies. These are the 7 centimeter ones. So these are smaller. And we have it up against the base, and we have this washer. It's like a little flower effect right there. Isn't that cute? I try to make toys a little bit cute for us, but I really make them more functional for the birds. So now they have the pressure of all of this, and these are easily destroyed. So maybe there's stuff in there or whatever, but these get easily destroyed, and then it creates room on the line for everything else to kind of loosen up and fall. And then we can easily access this, or maybe we have to move this with our beak, or maybe we have to chew this or chew the base, right? So then we have things like these mahogany pods. These things, if you have a screwdriver, like the star bit, girls, right? The star one, that's what I call it. I don't know what it's really called. Some man's name probably. And I just take it, and I don't even use my drill press. I just take it and go whoop, 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 whoop. And this is so soft. You can create your own holes in it. And which we were talking about with the wood, how the skinnier holes, the deeper the hole, the harder it is to get to. This is a really good place to start. Or B, if your bird like Munchkin, he cannot chew wood. So I'd do this with him instead of wood because he can chew mahogany pods. Or maybe have a smaller bird, mahogany pods. That's a really soft texture. You know, we have the vine cones that we were talking about. And look at this, just like the universal forager and the wheel deal, we have some wheels and we have the interlocking snowflakes right here. Whole seeds, millet, holders, things. We have some raffia tassels. These in between all of the frillies holds things. Start on the outside. Work your way deeper inside. So now here's another millet holder. And this millet holder, there's a wooden spool there, and so it decreases the diameter of the hole, which can really help hold things a lot easier. But because this is so chunky, you could just lay it. You could just lay it and support it. So the last thing about this toy that is quite unique, and also part of the reason why I'm discontinuing some of these, is because of this base. It's a beautiful base. I love it so much. It costs a lot of money and everyone complains. So, and it's a little bit harder to get. So this base, it's a wood base. It has holes throughout the center and some notches. And so this holds food, the holes hold food, and in this design, I have to find it. This hole right here, I specifically in the middle did not include any cordage, toy parts, or anything to it. It's a completely empty hole in the base. And that is for whole nuts, that is for millet, that is for things to be put into it. So then your bird has to move around all these toy parts in order to get to it. It increases the complexity of the item. You can put coin wrappers in here or those seed balls that we talked about last time, all the way back up in there. And it is deep. It goes all the way through. So that increases the complexity of it. So, and it's also a huge toy. But then the base itself is a toy at the end. It's just like a big groovy block. So this one can be really helpful with building the complexity. And if you have a bigger bird, or your bird prefers bigger parts, this is the rough and tough. This one is definitely going out because it is just, it's just a lot. I might bring it back in the future, but right now it is on sale and going out. Big chunky base. Look at this. Look how deep these grooves are. This is amazing. It's amazing. I covered the holes with big chunky toy parts. Hi, Jacob. And I did this because you can then still stuff things inside there. The paper twist rope is thin and the holes are quite thick. So there's more than enough room to shove things in there. You have the pod cups with the paper. We have a lot of the finger traps and stuff like that. In addition to this, just like those mahogany pods, I'm taking a screwdriver to the foam dice. I'm doing it. With the acrylic cups, what I've added is a raffia tassel. So not only can you use the raffia tassel on the outside and embed the food items deeper within it, but also you can still use just the acrylic cup. Another addition is these plastic spinners. These hold millet strands. And the weight of everything on top of it helps hold it even better. And you can even use the bagel that's in front of it in order to put the millet sticks into to help support it as well if needed. But a lot of these toy parts on here we've kind of already discussed and the importance, but now they're arranged differently. And this is a big toy and it's heavy. I want to hold it more from here because it's so heavy. And this offers a lot of variety for your bird, especially bigger birds. If you got a heavy chewer, this is where I send you, is this toy right here. So there's a lot of options. That's just within my toy line. This is applicable everywhere. You can make your own toys. You can make it yourself. Don't sell it, but like make it yourself. If that's more your cup of tea or within your price range, whatever it is. They're easy to make. They really are. They're simple to figure out. The bigger one's a little bit more challenging. There's a lot going on there. But like, I'm okay with that. As long as you're not selling them, buy the parts from me or anywhere, make them yourself, and use them. The point of this is education and to get birds moving and grooving more. This isn't some weird cash grab. This isn't anything like that. This is just, I'm trying to bring things out there. I make them for convenience, but if you need to make it for your bird, make it for your bird. I make stuff for my birds all the time from what I see from other people. I don't sell them, but I make them. Like there's from oh my God, what are they called? Superbird Creations. Superbird Creations has this PVC elbow with or it's like more of like a 45 than an elbow. What you can use? I think I used elbows. I don't know. PVC elbow or the 45-degree, whatever it's called. And all they did was they took these lids and they had a jump ring. I think there's this nickel plated. I always use stainless steel. And they just drilled a little hole into the PVC on both sides of the openings. They put that as a lid. They strung some chain on it and they're selling it for a ridiculous amount of money. You can get that at Home Depot if you have the materials and the time. Significantly less. You don't even need the no, you need the jump rings. Never mind. I was about to say you don't even need the jump rings if you just attach the chain to it. But what I did, I'll try to bring it next week because we're going to be talking about inexpensive foraging ideas. I'll try to bring it next week. Hold on. PVC. I'm putting it in my notes as the shopping list because that's what I refer to when getting everything together for this week today before the class. So just put that in my notes so that I have it. Um, so we went over a lot today. Okay, so as a recap, we talked about why we need to increase foraging complexities and increase them indefinitely, why we need to introduce other toy parts and increase the complexity through a lot of different ways, like harder materials, the strength of the materials go from something soft to something hard. We talked about deeper holes being drilled into wood or skinnier holes, or other toy parts like the mahogany pots. We talked about the ability for the toy to move and how that increases complexity. Where we're putting the toy in the cage or not in the cage. We even talked about putting brown paper bags or paper around the toy to easily increase the complexity in something so simple. You can even put a small box depending on your bird. Most birds are better if the box is kind of hanging and it's not that big, especially if they know the toys inside of it. These little ones are like kind of perfect because, don't quote me, but like, I think I can get this one in a mac and cheese box with a little bit sticking out. I really do think so. Um, and so we can continue to build our bird skills throughout the weeks. And since you're going to be getting ideas every single week, you can continue your bird skill that way by following along here at Enriching Evenings. So again, next week is about inexpensive foraging ideas. I thought that would be appropriate next because times are tough, man. Times are tough for everyone. And I know I myself am finding preference in using more inexpensive foraging ideas and enrichment ideas compared to buying things or more expensive ones. I used to make my birds the biggest, chunkiest of toys, and I've really decreased that because that's expensive, even if you're making it yourself. You know, I do this, but I've been making my birds toys even before I started selling them. It's been over a decade I've been making bird toys, and it really started like I don't buy bird toys anymore unless I like 100% know. After JoJo got metal toxicity from a toy from a specific brand that I cannot name, I don't think. But it's two letters. Just two letters. If you know, you know. So I want you guys next week to bring trash, right? I want you guys to bring small boxes, not big boxes. We do not support big box use unless it's cut up. So for me, like I talked about my Kraft macaroni and cheese, I'm gonna bring one of those boxes. Or my butter sticks come in a pack of 4 in the box. I'm gonna bring that little guy. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna save my paper towel tubes, but not my toilet paper tubes because that's nasty. It's gross. Look it up. Fecal matter everywhere in your bathroom. Disgusting. Not for my birds. You can use it for yours. Not for my birds. I won't be doing that. I'm going to be going to the Dollar Tree and I'm going to be seeing kind of what they have. You got to be a little careful going to non-bird stores for stuff, but I'm going to go to Dollar Tree and I'm going to scope it out and I'll give you guys the looky-loo of what might be around that might be safe. I'm going to save things that are a little bit more obscure. You know, maybe I'm gonna go through a few things. We talked about last week those pink baby booties that are plastic. I'm gonna find things that I can give my birds that I can shove things into. So I'm gonna have some ideas, and I want you guys to bring some ideas. And even better, if you guys reach out to me, either through the newsletter blast that happens after these, if you're on the email newsletter, you're kind of watching this around the right time, or you're my participants here right now with me, or maybe in the future you can email over to me some ideas of what you grabbed and what you'd like to see in future episodes of this. And that way I can also bring those items and show you what to do with them. So pretty much, I want you guys to bring some trash, maybe some brown paper bags, just some paper in general. We're going to be going through some ideas to keep it on the DL, the down low in price, DLP. That's what we're going to be doing. Acronyms all next week with yours truly, the dyslexic one. So I really look forward to seeing you guys next week. If you guys are watching this replay on YouTube or my website and you want to join the fun, go ahead and go to my website under classes and go ahead and sign up. There will be a link below somewhere, everywhere, all at once. I'll try to get that information out to you guys, or you can feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm working on a little end screen here. I think it might be nice if I like share my screen and it has my details and contact information and links, and then that way it's like I'm doing my little outro here and it's like I'm trying to grow this, okay? We got a table this week, guys, so we're making big changes. So I'll see you all in the next week with going over inexpensive foraging ideas. Have fun this week, share your ideas with me, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week or in the next episode that you watch. Toodaloo!